Half-Shell Oyster House August features are now available. Enjoy their bourbon bacon jam oysters. Fresh baked Gulf oysters topped with homemade bourbon bacon jam and gorgonzola cheese. Have something with a bit more zing, like the Royal Red cocktail. Cajun boiled Royal Red shrimp chilled with a cocktail of Zing Zang Bloody Mary mix, avocados, cucumbers, tomatoes, red onions, and cilantro, served with crisp wonton chips. The citrus ginger glazed salmon is wild-caught Atlantic salmon, char-grilled and based with orange juice, fresh ginger, honey, and soy sauce over a bed of pineapple rice, served with your choice of side or side salad. A perfect summer dish at Half-Shell Oyster House, located at 115 Laurel Park Cove, Suite 105, Flowood, Mississippi, 39232, or you can give us a call at 769-257-7586. And oh yeah, tell them Sonya sent you.
She say sports. She say sports. She say sports. She say sports.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Sonya, and welcome back to She Say Sports. Today I have with me psychotherapist and author of Reflection of a Woman, Questions from a Man, Michael Dangerfield. Hey Michael, and welcome back.
Hey, what's going on, Sonya? Thanks for having me. We're doing virtual this time. Yeah.
I know. The last two times you were on, it was audio last year. Mm-hmm. And speaking, I haven't spoken to you really in a while, but how's the family?
The family is doing very well. No complaints at all. We're pushing through and weathering through just like everybody else, right?
Yeah. They're back in school, your girls?
No, they won't go back to school till not this coming week, but the following week. The 23rd, I believe.
I think because kids, they went back really early, like the end of July. I was shocked.
Well, I'll tell you this, Sonya. I did go to the orientation for my oldest daughter because she'll be starting middle school. Mm-hmm. Oh, goodness.
Wow, yeah.
But, just hearing some of the things that they were talking about, like these schools, they're saying, it's on them to wear a mask if they want to wear a mask. There's no social distancing. And I'm like...
Yeah, and I think Abbott is in court now fighting a gentleman, the principal of Dallas County now. I was there Monday when it happened, actually. So, yeah, and what happened was, I think it was the superintendent or the principal. I'm thinking the superintendent of DISD. He did a mandate and was like, everybody has to wear masks, and now they're in court. And I think what amazes me, the people that are so against the mask, had they told them to not wear a mask, then they would have been fighting to wear a mask. So it's really privilege, and it's also, you can't tell me what to do.
Absolutely.
So people are dying because you don't want to be told what to do. And our country is so prideful. It is. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. And key word you said was privilege. Those who are in the position to be able to kind of rise above some of the challenges that those of us who are not privileged it's like they're in another atmosphere,
Yeah.
And that's scary.
It's sad. So all we can do is pray and just keep us and our families safe. So
yeah.
So as I mentioned earlier, you wrote Reflections of a Woman you wrote Reflections of a Woman.
Mm-hmm.
And
Questions from a Man.
Questions from a Man. You also wrote Reflections of a Man.
Uh-huh.
And you also wrote Identity Crisis Averted. So
Yes,
I mentioned Reflections of a Woman because I'm actually a part of that book. Can you please tell the listeners how I became a part of it?
Yeah, so I remember reaching out to you, Sonya, and to the world as y'all are, listening to this. Sometime after I wrote Reflections of a Man, I wanted to start the conversation with women about, what men go through, what men think about, what men feel sometimes. And some of that was birthed from the conversation that we had the last time we were on, you had me on the show.
Really?
And so, and we had such good dialogue. Essentially, you were presenting, we were talking about mental health. Of course, you were kind of interviewing me, and we were kind of posing questions, but it was like reflections of a woman, questions from a man. So that was
Love it.
some of the thought behind it. But what I wanted to do was this time give women an opportunity to be able to, share some of that wisdom, not only with other women, pass it down, but to think about how they might respond to some of the questions that would come from men. Women, you guys are very emotionally intelligent. You support each other a great deal. It's nothing for you all to reach out to each other. Men, we struggle with that. And so I said, how can I help to bridge the gap between men who need to talk more, who love to talk to women, and women who do this thing naturally? So that was the thought. And then I handpicked some women that I know to be, just well versed and all about their mental health and out here trying to do some good things. And of course, the great Sonia came to mind, and I had to make sure that I caught the essence of just wisdom you wanted to pour out to other women, who might read the book, fill in some of the journal activities and things like that. So
absolutely. Yeah. So this is the book. And I'm going to read my insert rather, and when you asked me to do it, I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous and I was like, I don't know what to say, but I'm always talking. And so, and my friends was like, you always would give it good advice. And I was like, well, you Holy Spirit, help me, figure out what I need to say. So what I said was, there are reasons why many take detours from their destiny. Some take detours because of hurt and pain, circumstances, or just because they are simply tired. But in order to fulfill your destiny, you must get back on the road that was ordained for you. The detours weren't built to take you there. And I was just, I wasn't just talking to people, I was talking to myself, because I've taken many detours in the past. And what's so funny, Sunday when I was on my way to Dallas, it was a fatal accident on 20. So I had to, they wouldn't let us pass for and it was traffic. It was so many cars and trucks.
I can imagine.
And so what I did was I turned back, I got out of the line, and you made a U-turn that went the way I came, and I got on a frontage road, which was a detour. And I took that frontage road or detour until probably about 10 minutes, but it put me back on the highway that I was supposed to be on. And it was clear. And so, wow. I just thought about that as I was reading that, but it's just, we have to, it's very important for us to do that, but this is not about me. I just want to hear that.
No, but it's relevant. Thank you for sharing that, and it's amazing how, I heard you say, Holy Spirit, help me with doing that. It's amazing how things kind of come full circle when that's your mindset. Yeah, that's awesome.
That's true.
Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. So, Mike, why did you feel it was important to write this book?
So I love people. I love people to the point to where I love to get to know them. I want them to be the best versions of themselves. I feel like this world we live in, there's so much competition. There's so much of a grind and a rat race to, whether it's to make it to the top or provide, that we lose ourselves in that process.
Right.
Writing is one of those things that I feel like forces us to take a moment. If we do it genuinely, it forces us to take a moment to reflect and to really just block out everything else that's going on and just pour from our hearts. Conversation is great. Talking to people is great. Those are great things. But that getting to the core of what's on your heart, what you really feel, putting that down, and then allowing that to be the thing to spur a conversation sometimes, I think it's just organic. So Me, I love to ask questions. I love to ask thought-provoking questions because I want to get beyond, just, hey, how was your day? Fine, good, well, how,
Right.
to, who is this person at their core? What is it that they believe and what is it that they think? When this person is gone and not in my presence, will they have made an impact or touched my life in a way, said something to me that resonates? Would I have said something to them, that made a difference in my life? This book gives an opportunity, and pretty much everything I'm trying to do, I want that to be the core. Like something is said, something is thought, something is triggered for you to be able to say, oh, I never thought about, life like that. I never thought about that. Let me invest in that. Let me think about myself. Let me do better. So
I like that. So you have reflections of a woman and reflections of a man. Which were you inspired to write first and why?
Reflections of a Man was first. And it's interesting. Reflections of a Man actually came from my own situations that I was going through at that time and some journaling that I was just doing. We might have talked about it briefly in the past, but really what happened around that time was journaling, asking myself these positive questions. I was hoping to build a relationship with my dad, thinking, since we don't have these conversations, what would be a way I could get some of this dialogue and get some information from him, pass on what he feels and thinks about things, because I'm sure those are things that I feel and think, myself. I want to be able to pass that on to others. Somewhere in that process, though, I found out that my dad, who I thought was my biological dad, was not my biological dad.
Wow.
And that was a whole thing for me at that time. And mind you, this is, maybe 5 years ago. So it's
this
not
was
like this was,
recently. This was not long.
yeah, this was like maybe 5 years ago. And what's interesting, Sonia, is that at that time, I found out that my biological father had passed away the year after I graduated high school and went into the military. And so in essence, these really were, at that point, before I had released the book, I was writing it into myself. I was going through it myself. It was like, these are questions that I probably could have asked my biological dad. I'll never know. I don't want to be in that situation. If I don't have these conversations with my daughters and others, I want them to know at least this is what dad thought about this. This is what dad felt about this. This is what he was afraid of. This is who he was at his core. And possibly if I have grandkids, great grandkids that I never get to see one day, they'll know who great grandpa was at his core, even if they've never laid an eye on me, physically.
So are you still close to your father that raised you?
I wish I could say yes.
Okay.
Our relationship has been
Strange.
there you go, strained. I would say not the best, but strained. And the biggest thing is, he's of the old school mindset of, children are supposed to call the parents all the time. That's just how it works. And the relationship is. And so, and this is over years, this is over decades, and I'm like, I understand that. There's that respect. I always respect you. But if we're going to have a genuine relationship, it has to be a two-way street.
Absolutely.
I have to feel like you're as invested in me, especially now as an adult, as I am in you. And so that's part of the strain.
Yeah.
The way my piece is set up, I'm not gonna do too much calling just to hear people tell me, why you ain't did this, why you ain't did that, how come you haven't done it? I got it.
Because actually the guilt is on them and they're trying to put it on you. So I agree. I absolutely agree. So since you have a reflections of a woman and reflections of a man, do you have plans on having a seminar and bringing them together so they can give their reflections?
That's interesting. That's in the works. So I will say,
really?
Here's a sneak peek. Nobody knows this. I'm actually planning a book launch for Identity Crisis Averted. But the idea, and it's going to be mid-September, September 18th. The idea is to talk about those things together. I've kind of coined it the pursuit and protection of peace. And
Mm,
so P3 series or whatever, as we talk about what that looks like, I'm going to bring in the idea of reflections of a man, reflections of a woman, as well as Identity Crisis Averted, since that was the last work that I did that has been out since the end of May, but not officially launched. So
okay.
it's the book launch, but it's going to be a kind of a culmination of all of them since I've never officially launched those. It was just, work that I did and I put out and people kind of took hold to it. So
Okay, that's
yeah, I
good.
plan to do that. I plan to do that, a showcase event, and couple the idea of reflections of a man, reflections of a woman, and Identity Crisis Averted together.
Love that. That's going to be great. And that's going to be in the Houston area, right?
It's going to be in the Houston area.
I'll let,
Yes,
I'll
but
let, I was just about to say, I'll let you give all that information at the end of the show. So,
okay.
so she can, my podcast manager, she can put that information as well. So
Okay.
that's going to be very interesting. That's great. Um, Michael, we had two top tier athletes, tennis great Naomi Osaka and Olympic great Simone Biles,
Mhm.
who decided to sit out on their respective sports due to mental health. What are your thoughts on their decision?
I think it's absolutely fantastic that they did this. And, maybe I'm not a fan favorite for saying that, but hey, I am, all for mental health, hashtag healthy mentality. That's, I'm always talking about that. But I think it's needed. I think what better time than a time as now to do that? And what better platform than a platform like the Olympics? Something that everyone across the world is taking a look at to be able
Yeah,
to, yeah, I think it's great.
that's true. Yeah. But I'll get into that. I was about to say something, but I want to ask a question first.
Okay.
How different are the athletes of today from the athletes in the past when it comes to being more vocal of their mental and physical health?
So I think over the recent years, and it's probably spanned back before this, but the last Olympics, Michael Phelps did a great job of coming out and kind of talking about some of his mental health, challenges and struggles
Mhm.
and some of the work that he did around that. And I felt like that was one of the things that opened the door to have other athletes come out and talk more about it. Now, not to say that Michael Phelps is the only person who's done it. Over the years, we've seen what mental health looks like with athletes, over the course of time. We talked about Chris Jackson on Mahmoud Abdul Rauf recently, Delonte West. You see articles and you hear information about different athletes who dealt with things like this. But it's kind of like the way sports transition is the way society transitions. If you think about that old school mindset, it was like you got to power through, you tough it out, you don't be soft, and you take it and use that as fuel and motivation to just get the job done. You think about the Michael Jordans and Charles Barkleys, and even further back down it, you wouldn't hear any of them really talking about mental health. What you would hear is, I took all that, whatever it was, and I funneled that into my craft. Fast forward to now, we've become a more emotionally intelligent people. Now it's still met with some resistance. Not everybody's on board with mental health and everything, but to understand that the sacrifice that some of these players made in previous generations was a grave one that has impacted society today. Think about Kobe Bryant, some of the other players. They literally said, basketball, my sport, was my life. My family didn't matter as much as that. People around me, I ate, slept, drunk, whatever. Basketball or my sport. It sounds good. It sounds stimulating and motivating. But think about the impact that causes on or has on, family members, who want that time. And they hear you say, this thing comes first. And they see this thing comes first. Now you fast forward to a time where you have very talented athletes, but who are in a position now to say, hey, I understand that I'm not what I do. I'm not limited to what I do, because you can, be that one athlete that's a breakout athlete and have phenomenal opportunities and years and rookie years and get all kind of awards, and then something can happen mental health wise, and it's just like this kamikaze kind of decline, and society can be unforgiving when it comes to that. They want to see you, be their fantasy, draft player or whatever. They don't want to see you not perform. So when athletes allow who they are to be determined by their success in their craft, and that's what it's all about, and all this pressure that's coming from society and media and everything, that can be dangerous, because no one's considering who they are as a person, what they might be dealing with, what the impact of their life challenges are. All they want to do is see that person perform and win. And don't let them lose, because now, they might be yesterday's news, and the newest phenom when it comes to sport might just, replace that person.
And
It's tough.
that's true. I agree with everything that you said. I mean, and it is true. Sport as a whole is not tough as it used to be.
Right.
You mentioned Michael Jordan. Remember when Mike played with the flu in game, I think it was game 5 of the 1997 NBA Finals, or when Isaiah Thomas played with an injured ankle in the 1988 NBA Finals.
Absolutely.
And he scored 38 points. They continue to play, and in all sports, boxing, baseball, whatever it was, whatever they were dealing with, if somebody died in their family, think about a parent died and they played their sport that same day.
Right.
And that's because they were taught, you got to play, like you said, play through the pain, just keep going. They will want you to play. They will want you. Your mom, she died today, but she will want you to play. And that's what we were taught. Whereas this generation now, I don't want to say, they are kind of soft. I'm sorry. They're a little soft. However, I appreciate Naomi and Simone, especially being so young, to understand my mental health is very important. I don't know if it's because that's what everybody talks about now, mental health, go get therapy, because Black people didn't used to go get therapy. Black people get therapy now. Lots of Black people, including myself. So I haven't gone in a while, but it's very, very important.
Right.
And it's just, doesn't mean you, because we were taught either you're crazy. Or Jesus gonna take care of it. Now, Jesus will take care of it. However, he put doctors on this earth to help us. Now, I'm not saying everything that y'all do is correct, but I won't say but, because that negates everything I said before. However,
right.
However, you're here for a reason, and you're here to help us. So I agree with you. I totally agree. Would you say, what role does social media and the news reports play on athletes today? Because that's the difference, I think, between Michael Jordan's era and the eras before versus this era.
I agree. 100%. It's all about balance. And I wonder if social media had more of a presence back then, if things might have looked a little different,
Yeah.
But it plays a huge role. And with this younger generation, everything is, it's presentation and social media. It's performing for the people and not necessarily doing things with heart and doing things with meaning sometimes. It plays a big role. Yeah. And so when you think about powering through and allowing that motivation to finish the game or finish the series or finish the championship, be on the fact that your dad just died or something, like that's knowing how to use what you've been through and have this balance and allow it to propel you, as opposed to someone saying, I feel some kind of way right now and I'm entitled to own my feelings and have my feelings, and no one's going to make me do anything right now. I'm just going to, when I'm good and ready to move forward, I'm going to do. There is a difference there. And social media with everything being televised, publicized, in your face, your reactions and responses being done in real time, and then the whole world being able to like, dislike, comment, share, disapprove, give their own spiel about it. That's a lot. That's a lot.
It's a lot. And that's why even when you were on the show last time when we talked about athletes and mental health, that's why I still feel they do not need to be on social media while they're training, while they're like Simone was on there every day after she told, said she was not gonna, she was pulling out of the Olympics. She was on there every day trying to explain herself. And I don't think you should have to do that. And I understand you have millions of followers, but if your mental health is the reason why you pulled out, then your mental health should also be important enough to pull away from social media a couple of days or a week or two, just pull back so you can, get things back in order. So I don't know.
Yeah. And then your mental health is going to be the determining factor really in what your physical response is going to be.
Okay.
You won't see a person perform at peak, maybe win, maybe accomplish anything they're trying to do if their mental health is out of whack. Let's take Mike Tyson, for example. The GOAT, as we say in boxing, but we know he's gotten so much scrutiny for his fight with not Foreman, Holyfield. Holyfield, where he bit his ear, right? And when you go back and look at all of it, the response was he was going through so much at that time.
And he was I think alcohol and drugs too. So
he had a lot going on.
That didn't help.
He had a lot going on. You fast forward now to this culture where, like you said, everything is publicized, everything has to be justified and validated, as though you have to prove to society why you do what you do, and they have to say, okay, we cool with that, or no, we don't agree with that. That's a lot.
I think that comes with age as well, because I could freaking care less what people say about me or how they feel. And I had to get tough growing up because I was very, very tall and skinny, and people would, they would tease me. And kids are the cruelest of anybody on this planet. Now we're seeing those same kids on social media because now they're grown up and they haven't grown up.
Absolutely.
In their minds.
Absolutely.
So my mother had to, thank God for my mom. She was like, God made you the way you are. You hold your head up high. Because I was trying to walk like this to fit in. I would have been walking with a hump on my back. I'm almost 6 feet. And that would have been horrible. So, so I'm thankful for her and her encouraging words, but a lot of people don't get that.
They don't.
And,
that's where the balance comes in, though. That's where the balance comes in. Mental health is important, but hey, you got to have some grit about, dealing with the whys is great. Why did this happen? Why did this? Why that? But at some point, it's got to be, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to move forward? And that's where some of that old school, you better get out there and push through, comes into play.
You're absolutely right. So do you think their courage to say, I choose me and my health, will spill over into the sports world and others will follow suit?
I believe it will. Will it take and people run with it and it make this drastic change in society off top, without some resistance? I don't think so. Just because
there's gonna be resistance for sure.
Right. The entertainment world is such that people invest, lots of money. I mean, people send their kids to the greatest schools and AAU and all, like all kind of stuff because they want them to be competitive. They want them to be the best of the best. They don't want everybody to participate and everybody get a consolation prize. And everybody say, yeah, hey, we did this, high five. There's some benefits to competition. There are some drawbacks for sure, but there are some benefits. And it almost gets to a point to where at any point in time, someone can pull out, or someone cannot finish something, and someone cannot complete a task and say, I'm going to use my mental health as my ticket out. It becomes, where's the fine line?
Right.
How do we know that this is really your mental health?
Or you just want to say that just to, and I totally agree. I was thinking that while you were saying it, not to cut you off, but I'm like, how many people are now gonna, because that's, I don't want to say it's a fad or it's a trend, lack of a better word, but a lot of people will start using that just to get out of doing things. I need a mental, and don't get me wrong, sometimes you do need a mental health break, period. I mean, it's very important to just declutter your mind and just take a break and just get some sleep and rest and just, I understand that, but I wonder how many people will start using it as a scapegoat to stop doing things,
Right. That's true. Now, if we do it right, Sonia, mental health, just like our physical health, is designed to get us to a point to where we have healthier habits, right? We, unless we're about to have a heart attack or, we collapse on the field, physical health is not going to be a thing to stop you from performing, right? So mental health, the more we invest in ourselves, the more we do the work, behind the scenes, the better we're able to process and think about competition and not let, okay, I didn't come in first, I didn't get gold or silver, I'm not going to let that be the thing that caused me to want to drink myself into oblivion, or like, we learn how to deal with those things. That's the mindset we have to have about it. I think back to when I was in the military. I found out after I went through boot camp and went into the military, years later, they started incorporating this process in boot camp. Now, this is boot camp. This is where, you take the person who's just average Joe, you prep them to be in the military to, defend the world. They started putting in a process where people could say they needed a training timeout. They needed a break from whatever was going on. It was just too much. And that didn't really take well to, those of us who had to go through the rigors of all the stuff that was going on. And, and it's kind of the same thing now. While I support mental health, I do this work to help others do that work. It's so that they get to a place to where they can self-regulate, where they can do this stuff and prepare themselves for what they're getting into, so that they don't have to stop midstream and say, I'm overwhelmed, I'm done.
That's good.
Now we're working on this stuff. We're building our health up to a point. We're training so that when the big event happens, you have the endurance you need. You have the technique, you know how to go into another gear and all that kind of stuff. And if you lose, hey, celebrate the person who win. High five, great job. Next year I'm coming for you though. As opposed to, it being this thing where, you're a sore loser, or you got to get on and say, well, the only reason why you won was because of this. Had I done this, you know how that goes. So.
Right. That's true. That's true. And I guess I look at, and I'm looking at the past Olympics, how the trainers would be, those, like if those girls lost in the gymnast category, they would collapse and and I know you're upset because you've trained so long. I get that. But I'm like, how many were afraid they were going to get chewed out behind the cameras? When mom is going to go off, or my trainer is going to say I'm a loop, so you never know how much mental breakdown that they were going through behind the scenes because of a parent or a trainer, you're not good enough, whatever. So it's a lot. But it's go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I was just agreeing. I said it is. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot, and this has been very informative. I wish those ladies the best, and whoever else is struggling with mental health or just need a mental break, give yourself that time. Do that and get the help that you need. I mean, I'm gonna let Mike give his information at the end. He's a therapist. You can talk to him. He's biased, so he doesn't have a dog in the hunt. he will help you, and whomever else, so it's very important. But Mike, go ahead, you about to say something? Okay. Before I let you go, this is new too to the show. You didn't do this before. I play a little game called You Can Get With This, or You Can Get
Or you
With
can
That.
get with that. Oh, okay.
Little black sheep.
Yeah.
So what it is, it's a way for me and the listeners to get to know the guest a little better. So I'll ask you a few questions, and you choose the one that best fits you, okay?
Okay.
All right. Do you wake up late or go to bed late?
Go to bed late.
Fruits or veggies?
Fruits.
What's your favorite fruit?
Probably banana.
I love bananas too. King Kong or Godzilla?
King Kong.
Working remote or working in the office?
Ooh,
You have
that's
to
tricky.
think about it.
That's tricky. No, I have to think about it because I was not for remote in the beginning. I was like, what is this stuff?
Oh, I love it.
And when I tell you, I'm like, oh, wait. Like I can wear my joggers? Right.
I
So,
still have a bonnet on my head in these Zoom meetings.
right. Just have my camera off. So if I got to choose, I can get with this, I can get with that. I'm going to have to say, but to say remote. And I feel bad because I'm a hands-on kind of person, but the convenience of this remote is
Me too.
second to none.
I love it. Word puzzles or Sudoku?
Word puzzles.
Me too. I love those. Brown gravy or white gravy? You live in Texas, so I'm gonna see what you choose.
Brown gravy.
Really? Yeah, because Texas, they love white gravy.
Depending on where I go, what place I go, I
Mhm.
will switch it up, but I'm usually a brown gravy. Something about that nostalgia. My mom cooking.
I know.
And it's yeah.
Yeah. This is a blast from the past. Speaking of nostalgic, Yo MTV Raps or BET 1 and 6 and Park?
Oh, we. So,
And they were in stages.
right. And that's the hard thing because this one was Yo MTV Raps, late 80s, early 90s was, I'm gonna go Yo MTV Raps. I mean, 106 and Park, AJ and Free, shout out to y'all.
They were great. They were
great. The freestyle battles, but Yo MTV.
Yo MTV Raps was great. and then plus it was new for us because we had never seen anything like that.
Right.
Jamie Foxx as Ray or Denzel Washington as Malcolm X?
Ooh.
They were both excellent.
Absolutely. I'm gonna go with Ray. Just because for one, the music side of things, like Malcolm X is a staple. Like we know him. History, that is what it is. But the way Jamie Foxx encapsulated Ray to the point to where some people who didn't really know Ray Charles thought Jamie Foxx was actually Ray Charles. I just got to give it to him. He embodied Ray.
He really did. Both of them did. That's a hard one for me because I'm like you. I'm a music girl, so definitely. He was excellent. And then I remember on the part on Malcolm X when they were at the hospital and he had all the people, all the Muslims following him, and the man was like, "That's too much power for one man." But they said when they called cut, he didn't get out of character. He was just it was amazing how, and I think a lot of them do that because I was in the movie with Chadwick Boseman and James Brown, Get On Up, and the part that I was in, which was the 1968 concert, the day after Martin Luther King got killed in Boston. After they called cut, he kept talking like James Brown. He never got out of character. He just stayed there, and I was in amazement because it was just like, wow, this is really happening. I've heard about this happening. I'm seeing it live. So yeah,
I'm about to go back and watch that now. I didn't know you were in there.
Yes.
Look, see, okay.
I didn't have a speaking part or anything. However, I am a star. Um,
Yeah,
but I was just dancing and stuff. So I have to send you the shirt. I mean, the dress that I had on, so you'll know it's me. Because they think
nice,
my
nice.
hair is 60-ish and everything. So
Oh, okay, okay,
mhm.
yeah, yeah.
I think I'm gonna go with Ray too. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Ray too. Teddy Pendergrass or Luther Vandross?
I'm a Luther guy. No slight to Teddy P, because he was a man in
Oh
his
yeah.
own right.
Oh yeah.
But Luke, that crossover appeal and that voice and that, yeah.
It's I can't believe I'm telling this story because I just told a friend about this last week.
Uh-huh.
Um, I don't know how we ended up talking. Oh, we were talking about Teddy Pendergrass because I put a video up of Harold and the Blue, Melvin and the Blue Notes,
Who
and Teddy
knows?
was on there. And I said, I'm telling my age now, but I was a little girl,
Mhm.
and I was like, Mama, can I please have some Teddy Pendergrass jeans? She was like, girl, sit your fast stuff down. I'm like, why am I fast? Because I won't, I mean, I got Levi's, Sergio
Right.
Levante, Jordache, Gloria Vanderbilt. Why can't I have some Teddies? But needless to say, I didn't get those. Uh,
Yeah. Little did you know.
right. So this is the last one.
Okay.
I kind of have a feeling what you're going to say. Muhammad Abdul Rauf, aka Chris Jackson, or Steph Curry.
Ooh. Uh,
Chris was Steph before Steph, but
yeah. I'm gonna go with Chris. I'm gonna go with Chris. Only because he changed the game, and when you think of overcoming, when you think of not using excuses, when you think of making it work, finding a routine, perseverance, hands down to him. Steph, man, I'm always respect Steph. He just,
absolutely.
I like that guy. But if I had to put those two next to each other, yeah,
And
Chris Jackson got my vote.
he's 52. As you know, I was at a training camp with him on Monday and in Dallas, and he still got it. He What was
Wow.
amazing to me, and I'll have some footage at I'll have some footage at later this week. But what amazed me, how he was. I was like, they have no clue. I've been watching this man since I was 14 years old, and I was, he's from Mississippi, so am I. And he would come to Jackson, which is where I live, the capital, um, for tournaments. And I had never seen anybody his age play like that before. I mean, I've been a Michael Jordan fan since I was 12, but I had never seen anybody play like him at his age. I mean, it was just, I'm like, the way he handled the ball was amazing. And it was just, I don't know. And he still is like that now. And the way he was teaching those kids on Monday, I even though I love sports and I'm tall, I have no coordination to play sports, period. So I sing. And I was telling because my nephew, well, my friend, I call him my nephew, but it's my friend's son. He was at the camp. Be looking
Okay.
out for Elijah Huey.
Okay.
He's a freshman at West Kentucky, 6'5". He's a baller. He's great.
Nice. Okay.
But
Okay.
me and his dad, we were at the camp, and I was like, I have to compare this to me when I'm singing with my vocal coach. She's teaching me these different reps, and to be repetitious. And he was doing the same thing, and I kept seeing that. It was like music, how they were flowing. It was amazing. It was a great thing to see.
Yeah. And I'm a music head as well, and so I can understand the connection between repetition and the flow and getting it down and making it muscle memory as opposed to just something that you do. Yeah,
Exactly, that's true.
that's beautiful.
And some have the mechanics, but it wasn't here. And sometimes it'll take time. Some people, it'll take time. They may have the mechanics down, but it'll get in their heart. As like we said, you keep doing it and repetitive with it. So, but yeah, so that's who I choose exactly too. So
Awesome.
Well, Mike,
Steph,
thank you.
if you see this, no disrespect, still want you
Oh,
to invite
absolutely.
me and Sonia, and do
We
a
love you.
live interview with you as well,
We
but
love you,
hey.
Steph. I would love to have you on the show. No, definitely. I love them both, but Chris has my heart because he's from the SIP, and he did it first. So
Yeah. I bet if we asked Steph, he probably would list Chris as one of
absolutely,
those people who inspired him.
I agree. I think so too. Yeah. So, well, Mike, it has been a pleasure having you on the show again today. Thank you so much. Tell the
Absolutely.
listeners how they can follow you on social media, reach out to your office to receive counsel, or how to buy one of your books.
Okay. So you can find me on social media at M_Danger the Helper. All one word, that's IG. Facebook, I believe it's Mike Dange or something like that. But if you find me on IG, you can connect there. My website, you can find me, find all my information, as well as purchase the books. And that's www.allin-therapy.com. Allin-therapy.com.
Okay. And guys, you can follow me. She Says Sports on Facebook. She Says Sports 23 on Instagram. You can also follow and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. She Says Sports. And that's my show for today. Until next time,
Yeah.
Sonia. She Says Sports. And I'll see you next time.